Good day, dear colleagues and organizers of the conference. The results of research on the topic multi-criteria recommended system to ensure the professional orientation for engineering degree applicants are brought to your attention. The growth of students' academic mobility, along with the range expansion of innovative technologies of intellectual data analysis and knowledge management, led to the need to apply new approaches to the training of qualified specialists in demand by the labor market. However, the average student usually lacks the skills and life experience to comprehensively assess and adequately compare his or her capabilities with regard to narrowly specialized aspects of the curriculum. In the presented study, the authors formalized the shortcomings and potential conflicts of the trainee during the specialization of the educational and professional program content within the limits of determining the priority of variable components in the hierarchy of the educational trajectory. On the basis of a well-practiced study and a comparison of common educational means of analyzing the results of the applicant's educational activities, a partial lack of mechanisms and insufficient automation of the optimal decision-making process for assessing the priority of simulated educational trajectories was revealed. Therefore, the development of adequate client-server analytical tools for personalized support for the cognitive abilities of the listener, especially the participant of academic mobility, generation of contextual recommendation in decision-making from the complex choice of variable disciplines is timely and relevant. So, in the presented study, a four-level model of personalization and further determination variable components, priority in the educational trajectory hierarchy, is proposed for the purpose of forming dominant subject competencies. The results of the performed diagnosis of existing competencies by explicit data collection methods allow to make a decision regarding further professional orientation. This professional orientation further ensures the strengthening of subject competencies due to the selective components and tools for eliminating identified gaps. It was decided to formalize the professional orientation of the POA chosen by the student through the normative content of the relevant related subject competencies defined by the standard of higher education on the example of the specialty automation and computer technologies. Therefore, it is necessary to conduct a content analysis of the educational and professional program for the selection of variable components, each of which will contain the maximum number of related competencies, that is, competencies with the highest situational weight. The set of filtered components of parallel semester blocks with the closest interdisciplinary connections constitutes a block of consecutive disciplines, which, together with a set of mandatory components, forms an annual fragment of the individual education trajectory of a higher education applicant. The providential weighted sums distribution for individual values of conditional criteria made it possible to build a global preference model as a decision matrix to describe the problem of efficiency analyzing and automated choosing the educational trajectory, which is optimal for applicants' capabilities and inclinations. The resulting additive multi-attribute function of weighted feature vector to determine the total utility for the current educational trajectory helps to improve the quality of recommendations. The developed analytical apparatus is the basis of the designed intellectual system for determining the optimal variable components, taking into account the structural and logical sequence of the educational discipline study that determine the content of education in the chosen specialty. The next formation of the consecutive disciplines block, red arrow, will take place according to the described mechanism but with a narrowed list of variable components. This narrowing is caused by the specifics of the consecutive disciplines block of the previous autumn semester and their degree of affinity with the elective components of the parallel spring semester. Next, the optimal education trajectory is determined based on the weighted feature vector. Increased independent work on the gaps will help to acquire missing competencies to actualize forgotten ones for the chosen educational trajectory. An adaptive synopsis composed of the resources of the university knowledge base will help to coordinate such work, based on the materials of topics from which unsatisfactory academic performance was previously revealed. After completing the target topic selection of the educational and methodological content of the knowledge base, a set of descriptors is accumulated, which is subject to further ordering by relevance. Finally, the hypercontent of the adaptive synopsis is generated as a coaching support in the personal virtual office of the authorized engineering education applicant. Based on the generated array of links, the student gets access to the target content of the academic knowledge base from the terminal of any network device and can study at an individual pace, taking into account their own performance peaks. In order to test the projected knowledge management technology based on the intellectual system, a pedagogical experiment was conducted during 2017 and 2021. 132 students of the specialty number 151, Automation and Computer Integrated Technologies, voluntarily participated in it, who were divided into experimental and control groups. In order to identify the influence of the intellectual system on success, the results of educational achievements in both groups at the beginning and at the end of the formative stage were compared. In particular, the activity of students of both groups in scientific work demonstrates the distribution of the number of published scientific works, presented projects, and participation in professional Olympiads for the 2017 and 2021 academic years. The subject of bachelor's and later master's qualification papers in the experimental group had a clear professional direction. As follows, performed research has shown that the transition from traditional to project-based learning strategies be flexibly implemented within the variable components without significantly changing the educational model at the faculty or university level. Adapting the global preference model to educational standard requirements made it possible to simplify complex decisions in determining the dominant segments in the educational trajectory hierarchy and make such decisions more rational. Consequently, the educational process acquires the ability to adapt to students and their way of learning so that each generation of students achieves the best learning outcomes. We thank the organizers of the conference who in such difficult circumstances still perfectly organized the scientific event. And last thanks for your attention. The report is complete. The authors will be happy to provide comprehensive answers to interesting questions.